the hell is going on? Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. It is story time! I don't know, is that an okay intro? I'm making things up as I go. But it is story time. I am going to tell you a story tonight about something that happened in the 1990s that involved Dunkin' Donuts. I know it was the 1990s because I remember where I was living. And on this particular day, I was just going from my apartment to my parents' home, the home that I now live in. And on my way to visit my parents, I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts to get my mother probably a chocolate crawler, or that's how we always pronounced it. I think some people say crullers, or I don't know. Then they changed them to chocolate sticks, and now I don't even know if they exist anymore, but they used to be like a long chocolate donut that was kind of twisted and sugary, and it was just really, really good. I remember stopping at Dunkin' Donuts and going in. I don't know if we had a drive-through back then, but I'm not a drive-through kind of girl. I prefer to go in, so I did go in, and for whatever reason, I ended up buying a chocolate Eclair. So they probably didn't have the crawlers because I know my mother's #1 choice at Dunkin' Donuts would have been a crawler. So I got a chocolate Eclair. If you're not sure what an Eclair is, it's kind of a long pastry and it's filled with some kind of cream and covered with chocolate. Let me see if I can find you an image. This is what an Eclair looks like. They're quite tasty. See, there's a filling. I don't know if it's like a vanilla filling or I don't think it's lemon. But anyway, it's just an ooey gooey dessert. I bought the Eclair and I specifically remember that it was the last one on the tray, and I was very glad that I was able to at least get an Eclair. But it was the very last one on the tray, and the trays are put like at an angle so that the top ones slide down. So it was just down at the edge of the tray. And I bought it. I get to my mother's house and I give her the little bag and I got you something, and she opens the bag, and I remember she was like in the little kitchen area. I was sitting at the table and she says, "Oh, I see you already took a bite." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Yeah, I see you already took a bite." And she shows me the Eclair has a complete big bite taken out of it. Now, I think she's pulling my leg, and I was like, "Right, Ma, you just bit that. You just..." No, she says, "This is how it just came out of the bag." She's like, "You didn't take a bite of this?" And I said, "No, I didn't take a bite." So she says, "Well, this is how it came." So I take the Eclair, I go back to Dunkin' Donuts, I go in, and I tell the woman behind the counter, all quietly, there's people in the dining area. I was like, "I just bought this Eclair." I says, "And I want to show you how we got it." And I take it out and I show her. I go, "Somebody took a bite out of this." And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, but somebody took a bite out of this and it was like this when I bought it?" "No, it wasn't. It wasn't like that when you bought it." I said, "Well, yeah, it was." And she's like, "No, it wasn't." She says, "As if we would have a donut in here that has a bite out of it." And I said, "Well, somebody took a bite out of this before I got it." I said, "Because I didn't take a bite out of it. My mother did not take a bite out of it." And she said, "You probably had kids in the car or something." I was like, "I didn't have kids in the car." So now I'm starting to get a little bit worked up, which is quite common for me, because all I can think is, does this woman think I don't have anything better to do than to come back to Dunkin' Donuts and argue about a fucking Eclair? I mean, Jesus Christ. Get a grip, lady. I have better things to do. I'm thinking she's going to be interested in learning about this because she should be concerned that they sold an Eclair with a big bite out of it. So she actually takes the Eclair and goes out back and comes back out and said something to the effect of, "There's nothing we can do about this. This did not happen here." So now I'm full at the top of my lungs saying, "You sold me an Eclair with a big bite out of it." I mean, I was so mad. I'm like, "Do you think that I would come here and argue with you about a bitten Eclair?" So she gets the girl who took the thing out of the tray and she's like, No, there was no bite. And I said, you know, I know that Eclair was right at the end of the tray. I said, and you just took a paper and covered it and put it in the bag. I'm like, you wouldn't have even seen if there was a bite missing out of it. So after going back and forth to the point where everyone is now watching, I see about a 10-year-old boy come from the back of the store. Comes through the doors, and I was like, a kid? I said, you wanted to blame it on a kid? I'm like, there's your kid. I was so mad. I'm like, did you take a bite out of this Eclair? And the kid is just like looking at me. And I was like, look, you're giving me my money back. I don't care what you say. I am not leaving here with this bitten Eclair that kid probably bit into. I was just so mad because she was trying to blame it on a kid that I didn't even have. And there's one working there with them. I'm sure it was their son. The ending is anticlimactic because she ended up giving me my money back. But they did take the Eclair from me, and I did take the bag, and I crumpled it all up, and then I threw it right at that kid and hit him right in the forehead. That's awful. I was so mad. I can still see that kid just standing there. I mean, he was serious the entire time, and the bag just bounces off his head. I'm surprised they didn't call the police on me. And I left, and I don't think I went to that Dunkin' Donuts again for many years, until recently, to go through the drive-thru, maybe with Sandy and get a coffee or whatever, but I just never bothered. I was the woman who caused the scene because of a half-eaten Eclair. But for real, that Eclair had a big bite taken out of it. You could even, in the chocolate on the top, you could even see like the teeth marks. And I know it wasn't me, and I know it wasn't my mother. My mother would not send me off on a wild goose chase like that and let me go somewhere thinking that somebody else bit that Eclair. I mean, my mother doesn't play jokes like that, and I was right here. I mean, she opens the bag, and she was like, oh, you already took a bite out of it? I mean, I knew that she hadn't, like, eaten. She spoke so quickly after I gave it to her, she would still be chewing if she would have taken the bite. So that is my Dunkin' Donuts story. I have no idea if it's the same people that own that place, but I'm telling you, even if they wholeheartedly believed that I was coming in off the street and wanted to make a stink about an Eclair, they should have just totally taken care of that immediately and not cause a stink, because I ended up making a scene and everybody in that place knew. I mean, I was waving it around and, you know. So if you're a business owner, just, you know, you might have an irate customer. I mean, it was totally worth just refunding the Eclair just to get rid of someone like me. But they didn't want to take responsibility. I don't know. All right, that was the end of my story time. I'll be back with more soon. Bye.